How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Today, I wanted to have a conversation with a very important young lady. Her name was Char Wong Richardson. But we've been running into some real technical issues. So I'm going solo. And I wanted to have this conversation because she is an advocate for women's rights concerning sexual assault and things of that nature. I wanted to have this conversation because sexual assault is a difficult circumstance, whether it's a woman or whether it's a man. Um, They say that 91% of women, according to the CDC, have been assaulted. Or, I'm sorry, 91% of rape victims are women and 9% are men. I am in that 9% category. It happened to me when I was young. I was 9 years old. Both me and my brother were assaulted by a neighbor. It was embarrassing because for years, I even questioned my own sexuality. I did not have an understanding of what it meant to be assaulted. It was so challenging. And I come from a long line of unfortunate people that have been placed in a challenging situation. My mother, God rest her soul. And that's another reason why I'm having this conversation today. Um, my mother was molested for a few years when she was as young as 13. And then her mother was unfortunately violently raped. So when I had the opportunity to speak to Miss Richardson, I wanted to be able to have um, conversations on multiple levels concerning sexual assault, concerning um, what she's doing. She has a program that was called the I Love Me Method. And I wanted to talk to her about that because I know that for a long time, it takes people uh, a minute to get themselves back to where they feel they can function properly, where they feel that they can work within society. Because again, you feel you're broken when you have been violated, when something has happened to you, you have been placed in a situation where you have become a victim. And this young lady, she became, she went from becoming a victim to becoming an advocate. And I wanted to have that conversation to find out how she was able to muster her strength to become that person. I greatly admire anyone who is willing to go to that next level, who is willing to use the challenges that they've been through in order to get themselves to another level, in order to push themselves to go as far as they can possibly go. Because, like I said, it's really easy to stay a victim. There are many people who have allowed a sexual assault to create their world, meaning that going forward, they maintain a victim's role, a victim's mindset, and they don't find a way to move forward and to move past whatever has happened to them. I mean, again, I was a young person when it happened to me, and it took years for me to understand how to manage to. I had to first realize that this wasn't my fault, and I had to have some conversation. I had to have some therapy. I had to speak to people about what had been going on in my life, about how I move forward. And I I have two daughters. So I really want to make sure that they understand the value of speaking out if they're ever placed in that situation, and understanding that, again, when something happens to you, it's not your fault. No matter what society makes you believe. You know, we've seen the situations where in a court of law somebody will say, well, her her skirt was too high. Um, she said something, and almost almost making the victim out to be the perpetrator. They say, according to the CDC, only about 2% of all rapists are actually convicted. 2%. Now, roughly, according to the World Health Organization, roughly 30% of women around the world have been sexually assaulted. But yet only 2% of rapists are convicted. It's a very weird thing. It's interesting because when you look at the big picture, when you look at the big picture, you think, how come the law does not offer better legal circumstances for people, especially something as violent as rape? But we live in a circumstance where people still believe that, unfortunately, your sexuality is not something that is, how should I say, not something that is a priority, not in this world. And it's very difficult because it's like, I don't know, how should I say it? It's it, it's challenging because when you have that 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 feeling, and like I mean, it's a feeling because you don't believe anybody's listening to you. You don't believe that anyone is is understanding what you're going through. Like I said, it the fact that not a lot of rapists are convicted, and the fact that in a court of law, so many victims are made to feel like they are the reason why something has happened to them. the fact that, I mean, when a man is assaulted, he feels like he's less than a man. I read, I don't know if you ever read Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights, but it was interesting because in that book, he talked about the fact that he was raped. And you don't think somebody as masculine as Matthew McConaughey can get raped, but it happens. As a matter of fact, it happens a lot more than people think. I mean, again, sexual assault, it has no particular gender face. I know that women are assaulted a lot more than men. Like I said, the World Health Organization stated that roughly 91% of rape victims are women. You know, what we have to understand is that this violent crime, that not only does it not have a particular face, or it's not it's not just one gender, it's the majority of the female population that is mistreated in this manner. But even males have this type of situation. I it's beyond me in this respect when I think about it. And I have this conversation because honestly, it's such a challenge. I mean, you look at it, you see that women around the world are being mistreated. They're being they're being trafficked. They're being placed in circumstances where their bodies are almost being treated like machines. And then, like I said, you you hear men are going through it. I mean, and it doesn't matter who that a person is. I mean, you can be a popular actor, somebody like Matthew McConaughey. You can be a regular person just like myself. Unfortunately, assault is assault. And when it happens, you know, it happens. You look at the fact that so many so many people make the attempt to trivialize sexual assault, simply kind of dismiss it and act like that it's not a big deal, but it's a major deal. I mean, anybody can get, look at somebody as muscle bound as Terry Crews. Terry Crews was a victim of molestation when he was younger. And again, I'm just talking about the fact that across the board, people are being mistreated. Popular people. Selma Hayek, she was mistreated in Hollywood by Harvey Weinstein. And the point that I'm making here is that it does not matter what arena you are in. It doesn't matter your age. It does not matter your sexuality. What we need to realize is that we need to step up and understand that sexual assault is a reality. Again, I wish I had that young lady, Char Wong Richardson, on, because she can talk to you about how to be able to navigate through sexual assault and how to utilize it. I mean, she found a way to utilize what happened to her and to allow that to become a better version of herself in the process and use it to her advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I can say is that when it comes to sexual assault, when it comes to dealing with your your personal sexuality, when it comes to finding out how to better manage through, then you know it's weird to talk about it. I can't believe I'm even having this conversation. I can't believe I've even. It's taken me a long time to actually come out and say that I was even molested, that I was mistreated. But I wanted to have this conversation with Miss Richardson to talk about how to manage her thing. But obviously, since we've been having some technical issues, this this gave me an opportunity to be able to let people know that it doesn't just happen to women. It happens to us all. And how we plan to move through it is the key. So, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you right now, assault, rape, all these things that you're dealing with, it's not it's not an easy circumstance at all. Not at all. And what I wish was that I had some ways to be able to better better discuss sexual assault. And like I said, I was hoping to be able to have Miss Richardson on so that we can have that conversation. But ladies and gentlemen, right now I just wanted to say thank you. I finally got it off my chest. You know, I've been hiding it for so long. I've been so scared to bring it out because I didn't want people to believe that, you know, I wasn't masculine enough to address what had happened to me, things like that. I mean, again, I for a few years I questioned my own sexuality. But again, I was nine. I was nine. I didn't know, you know, but this takes time for you to understand. And I know that so many women out there that are dealing with sexual assault that are managing through how to deal with the circumstance. It's interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you giving me a moment to have this conversation today. Thank you. And one thing I'm gonna say is, listen, it's a difficult situation, but it's not a situation that you cannot overcome. It is an opportunity to transform your grief into a gift and use it to your advantage.